fuck those people. And fuck them all.
All right, everyone, it is 6 o'clock on the dot, so we are going to get going. Thank you again for taking some time out of your night for our 2020 preseason snow sports coaches call. Just wanted to do a quick introduction. For those of you that don't know, my name is Jeff Franklin, also known as Chop. I'm the new Senior Director of Competitive Programs. Linda Lappy was my predecessor, so she was in this role last year, and she moved on to the University of San Francisco to take a role. So as of now, I oversee our entire program department, but I wanted to introduce myself. That's why if you're on Zoom, you can see my face. I know, scary, but you'll have to deal with it for now. But I just wanted to thank you guys for taking time out of your night. These preseason coaches calls are really, really important moving forward into each season. So one thing that I do ask is that you hold all regional questions until the end of the call. All of our regional managers are on this call, including Susan and the rest of our team. You can also type questions into the chat, and we'll answer those at the end as well, or one of our staff members will get to them as we move throughout this process. So I don't expect this to take more than an hour. Honestly, with Susan doing it, it's probably going to take way less. So again, with that, please stay on mute, whether you're on the phone or on the Zoom call. We are recording this, so the less fuzz, the better. And we can send you guys the link for your review as we work through the call. So like I said, all of our regional managers are on the call. Tasha and Kyle from the Southeast region, Julie and Michelle out in the Western Slope. Lauren McClintock is our Northeast regional manager. She is new as well. And then we have Adrian from the Denver region. And then Susan and Corey should be on as well. So thank you guys all again for joining. I'm going to pass it over to Michelle, and she's going to review some dates with you guys for regionals and state, and then we'll kind of get into the call. So Michelle, can you hear us? Okay, she cannot. She warned me she was having some difficulties with her computer, so I'm just going to run through her process real quick. The first thing is I'm going to shout out the dates of regionals to you guys. You guys should have this on the agenda in front of you. The Southeast and Western Slope regionals will be February 6th at Ski Cooper in Leadville. The entries will be due for that event on Wednesday, January 16th. And please send your entries to your regional manager. So if you're on the Western Slope, send them to Julie and Michelle. The Southeast, please send to Tasha and Kyle. Just a heads up to the Southeast, Tasha is expecting her wonderful third baby, so she may be on maternity leave. So Kyle will be the main point of contact moving forward in the winter. Everything will still be on time, ready to go. But just so you coaches know, I'm sure they've communicated that with you already as well. So, and then our second regional event will be the Front Range Winter Games at Eldora, and that'll take place Monday, February 10th. The entries for those are due on January 27th. The Northeast entries, please send to Lauren McClintock, and the Denver entries, please send to Adrian Mora. We are actually looking at a new process for this year, and Susan's going to touch on that in a bit. But with that, as of last year, just as well as last year, we will be offering the Super G and the Giant Slalom at regionals. But then at state, we're going to have all three, the Slalom, the Giant Slalom, and the Super G. And our state event in 2020 will be at Copper, as always, on February 22nd and 23rd. As always, we expect you guys to get at least 8 weeks of training in. That's a requirement for our athletes and for our coaches and our teams. I think it comes out to 7 weeks almost because the schedule is so tight this year. So please do everything you can for that. And you have to attend regionals to attend state. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to our fearless state leader, Susan, and she's going to jump into some more information for you guys. Susan?
Yes, thanks, Jeff. I will go ahead and get started with just a little bit of information on our Copper training season sessions that we have. We will have our first session on December 28th. We will not be setting up a course that day. Just as a reminder, no course will be set up that day and no transportation will be provided that day. You guys will be on your own to get up there. It's a good day to get up. We do have the Village Square space reserved. It's a good chance to get up there and get your legs under you if you haven't yet. But you guys are more than welcome to do some free ski at that point. Tickets were mailed earlier this week for your first 2 weeks of training. I think there's a couple teams that only got the first week, but I will follow up with those. I will be picking up the rest of the tickets later this week or early next week and have those mailed out as well to you guys. The mid-season race will be taking place on January 25th. That's different than the packet I sent out due to a location change for the space we have for the training on that day. If there is anyone on this call that has not turned in the form so that I can get you tickets, please stay on the call at the end or reach out to myself or your regional manager so that I can get that. We are doing busing. We're doing busing from the Denver area as well as from Colorado Springs. It will be $5 per rider. We have had a great increase in the number of folks that want to use the bus, the number of athletes and coaches that want to use the bus, and we really want to make sure that we're being respectful of those seats on the bus for athletes and coaches that are training. I know in the past we've had parents on the bus, and maybe a room mom kind of thing for hanging out in the lodge, but really would like you guys to be mindful of who's on the bus and that they are athletes that are competing and training that day as well as coaches. There are some of you I might be reaching out to for some more information on who is taking the bus so that we can just be on the same page about that. And again, any questions on training, maybe those of you guys can stay on because I know that's not everybody. Maybe those of you guys that have any questions, I'll stay on the call afterwards if that's good, and we can answer any questions. Expect by early next week, if not this week, you'll get an email with a map on the exact location of where we're going to be meeting. Just some reminders, such as making sure you're checking in to have your bibs on the first day. Athletes and coaches all need that FIS helmet. Anyone that's running through the gates will need to wear a bib, athletes and coaches as well. So, and unified partners. So I'll go ahead and I'll go through that in an email. And as always, I'm available for questions. But again, those of you guys who have questions on the training, why don't you go ahead and stay on the line and I can handle those at the end if you guys are good with that. Moving on next to forms. Jeff, can you pull up on your screen the Excel sheet that we had shared with coaches? Okay, so at this point, I know it might be kind of small for you guys. At this point, all of you should have received this Excel file from your regional manager. If you did not, if you're on the computer, please type that in your chat box. If you have not received it and you're not on the computer, please feel free to go ahead and stay on the call afterwards as well so we can make sure you get this. This is something new we're doing this year. We understand how challenging it can be for you guys to get times either for the trainings that are happening, times for the official distances, times on the hill. Everyone's times ends up being a little bit different. So we decided this year we're going to send out this sheet to you guys. It'll have the event, the regional event you participated in. It'll have your team. It'll have the entrant names. It will have their events as well as their final score. If they were on a relay team or a unified skier, it'll have that listed as well. So it also will include medical expiration dates. So we tried to get everything on one concise form for you guys so you're not going through a bunch of different pieces of paper. So what we're asking you guys to do by the entry deadline is go through this form. If everything is great, I would just, shoot your regional managers an email letting them know that everything looks good and there are no changes. I'd like you guys to please look at the level and the event. So AS stands for alpine skiing. SB stands for snowshoeing. SB is for snowboarding. SN is for snowshoeing, and CC is cross country. Those events will be on there. These are all the events everyone was in last year. You're more than welcome to change events. I know some athletes have probably improved. They might be moving levels. All you guys will need to do is just a simple email to your regional manager saying, for example, Heather Bean is going to do skiing this year or something. So just go ahead and email us with any changes. If there's any major time changes, email that us as well. Again, most of you will be at the mid-season race, so we'll review times from that, but it is difficult for you guys to get times that are consistent. So instead of filling out the entry forms that I know everybody loves to do, we'd love you guys just to take a look at this. You can even print this off, make any changes on it, and send it back to us as well. If you have new athletes, you can just go ahead and add those on there, and we will work on divisioning them with some times that we have at trainings or their times at the regional event. Jeff, did I miss anything on that, or does anyone have any questions on that?
No, it was self-explanatory. Does anyone have questions? We can answer those now. I'd rather do this while we have this sheet up.
I have a question. It's Chelsea. Real
Yep.
quick. Just if we have new athletes and we won't be at the mid-season race, is it helpful if we just compare them to a current athlete's time on our team?
That'd be great. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll send reminders as regional managers reach out as well, just to resend this sheet and things of that nature. So go ahead, Susan.
And again, we're hoping this makes your life a little bit easier instead of the same entry forms over and over. So feel free to email with any questions or concerns you might have on this as well. Okay. Next up, Jeff, if you want to hop over to the coach, get us over to the coach handbook page. So this will be on our website. This will be under Get Involved, under Coaches, under Coaching Resources. And then over here, you'll just scroll down to find the Coach Handbook by Sport. These will be all of the entry forms as needed. So we completed all of this before we kind of sent out that form to you guys. So the only thing that we will need from this for our winter sports will be the coach roster. Jeff, if you want to go ahead and open that up. And just as a reminder, make sure you guys download them to your computer before you enter things in, because if Jeff goes ahead and enters everything in right now and tries to save it, it's not going to save. And we've worked over the last few years to try to figure that out, and it has not happened. So if you download it first, as Jeff just did, and then you can go ahead and you should be able to enter everything in and save it. Okay, we're just looking for your head coach name, a day of event contact phone number in case we have any issues with weather, which tends to happen at winter games, and then head coach email on there as well. If you would like more than one coach to be on this email, that's fine. Go ahead and add that. This is the official email that we'll use to send out information, final schedules, all those kinds of things. So add whatever you would like to on there as well. Then all we ask is you fill in the coach roster, last name, first name, and then date of birth. The date of birth is really helpful for us to try to figure out if we have duplicates in GNS. If there are 3 or 4 Jenny Smiths, we won't have to guess which one is on your team. We'll be able to know checking on the birth date. Okay, so that's the only thing that you guys will need to turn in, other than any changes on the Excel or PDF spreadsheet that we sent to you guys. Okay. We also do have all the entry forms up there for snowshoe and cross country, and our team relays. We will be offering, again, the unified ski racing and snowboard racing this year. This is an athlete and a partner skiing, and they're each taking a run down the course, and we are totaling their times for the final score of what that would be. Okay? Any questions on the entry forms? And, once we get everyone in their divisions and events at regionals, if you have an athlete that has improved greatly or, has improved their endurance, we can definitely switch events and switch levels, moving them up. Just as a reminder for regional events, everyone will be skiing the Super G and the giant slalom. At state, we will be doing all 3 events, the slalom, the Super G, and the giant slalom. At regionals, and that's for the alpine and snowboarders. For our snowshoers and cross country, we're asking if you're doing the longer distance at a regional event, you won't have time to do all 3. So go ahead and enter what you would want to be in for state, and then we'll follow up with you with which events you want to be in. If they're shorter distances, we encourage you to be in those 3 events at regionals as well as at state. Any questions on the entry form? Great. I will move on to some important rules. Just as you guys are aware, typically when we do divisioning, we division by male and females as well as by age groups. Our age groups in Special Olympics are 8 to 15, 16 to 21, and 22 and over. This doesn't always work out with some of our smaller events, some of our beginner skiers. So we do tend to combine some of these age groups. But keeping that in mind, we do keep it as age appropriate as possible within those age groups. However, just so you're aware, there might be a chance that a 12-year-old might be going against a 16-year-old. When we look at that, we really do look at their scores, and we visit with our committee to see who sees a lot of the skiers that come up to training to see if they would be a good matchup. So we do our best to make sure everyone is matched up evenly at that point. This year, the slalom will be on Saturday at state, and the giant slalom and Super G will be on Sunday. I'll get into that a little bit more in a minute, but just as a reminder, for the giant slalom and slalom, our inspection runs are recommended. So we have a recommended inspection run for the giant slalom and slalom. We just give a time frame for that where the course is open, where you're responsible with your team to go through that. During that time, you can flip the gates, you can take your team through however you would like to, but it is just during that time slot, and it's your responsibility to make sure you're up on the hill during that time slot. For the giant slalom and slalom, you will have start times for your first run and your second run, and we will be sticking to those start times. If someone is not at the hill during their start time, they will be disqualified. For the Super G, there is a required training run. We will assign a time for that. So there will be an assigned time for the required training run and then the 1 timed run as well. Okay. Any questions on any of those items? Great. Then I think I can turn it back over either to you or Michelle to go over medicals and medical applications and Class A's.
Yep, I'll take it. Michelle's still having some difficulties getting the link to work. So again, guys, please, I think just to reiterate what Susan said, just communicate with your regional manager, Susan. That's going to be the easiest way to get through that process. If you're still comfortable filling out the entry forms, go ahead and do so. Just please be sure you get everything in by the entry due date. That is the most crucial aspect of this process. So lastly, I know you guys have been I'm going to get into the paperwork part, which is an even more favorite part of everyone, especially us on staff. Moving forward, starting in 2020, the whole process is going to have to be done online. So right now you can still get paper copies if you guys need them. When you go to get involved in athlete, which I'm showing you on the screen now, and again, we're going to be recording this for you guys. When you scroll down, you can still grab paper applications that are completely updated for you guys to send in. But starting in 2020, the only thing you'll be able to grab from this start of the site is going to be the online application, which is right here. And you'll have 2 options to fill this out, right? So you'll be able to go through the site uses conditional logic. So the whole purpose of this is to make things easier on everyone involved. So we understand that there's going to be difficulties in some areas. Some of our athletes and some of our coaches might not have access to the best internet, things of that nature. But this is the best way for us to collect the most accurate, up-to-date information so our athletes are safely competing in our competitions. This will also make everything easier in the long run, where we hope to create a dashboard for you guys so every coach can have a login and manage their athletes at their own leisure, so we're not sending out 50 emails a year. But you guys should have gotten an email from your regional managers with all your paperwork dates already. If you have not gotten that yet, please reach out to them individually after this call and they can send you that. But I scroll over this right now. When you go to get involved in athlete, this is what the process is going to look like. It's similar to the Class A, which all of you have filled out. so you know kind of what to expect. But the first thing you're going to do is click on if you're an athlete or a partner. The nice thing, again, with the conditional logic on this is that if you're a partner, it's going to tell you to copy and paste the Class A link, and it's going to take you away from the incorrect page. And this actually happens quite a bit, to where an athlete will sign up as a partner, vice versa, which causes a huge mix-up in the system on our end. So there are 2 ways to complete it online. As you go through the process, you just click next for every aspect of it. And again, with the conditional logic, you can't move to the next page until everything is filled out. That takes away we're missing the initials on the release form on number 4 for this person. So only completed exams will be able to be submitted, and this should clean everything up for everyone. Before I move forward on this, I just want to say I know this is going to be really tough to start. And because of that, please do not reach out to your regional manager anymore for this information. We are going to streamline everything, and on January 1st, this will be on this portion of the site. Everything is going to go to our medical data team. So all of their information will be posted on the Get Involved Athlete page. If you guys do need access to a paper application for whatever reason, you'll need to email them directly, and then they will figure out the best way to get that to you. They will not be available on the site anymore because we want to funnel everyone to this aspect of it. So with that, again, using the logic, step 1 is the physical exam form. The athlete could already have it completed by the medical professional, and then you just click on yes here, and then you go to next. And then it asks all these questions as well on how you can upload it. So once that gets uploaded, you guys will go through and then fill out the release form, all the other information. There's going to be the opportunity to upload other documents like health history and things of that nature. Again, this is the first step in what's going to be a long process. So we ask that you guys work with us. Please understand that the benefits is going to be for everyone all around. You guys will be able to have access to your medicals way easier. We'll know exactly how to get them to you versus trying to search through, thousands of incomplete copies and even more thousands of completed copies that are in our office right now. But this process will simplify itself. It's just going to take some time. So I know every region may set up their own aspect. Like I know in the Southeast, they're planning on having library hours where teams can come in and do them all together. If they do have paper copies, they're just all going to need to be uploaded on the site. So any questions you have, you can ask your regional manager, but we're going to funnel everything to the medical data team because they're the ones that collect these and need all the information necessary. So if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat box or reach out to your regional manager like I mentioned. The Class A process is still the same. One thing I wanted to touch base on this is I feel like we run into this every year, especially at regionals. So any person that has one-on-one contact with our athlete has to have a Class A filled out. They can't just sign a waiver for the day of. So if you have assistant coaches, if you have an 8-person team and they're all sit ski or tethered skiers and they need one-on-one help and only 2 of you are Class A certified and you show up to Eldora and those other 6 didn't register, they're not going to be able to participate. I feel like we run into this every year. Any person that has contact with our athletes on a one-on-one basis, even if it's through a city program, when they come to our events, has to be Class A certified. So any questions on that, again, please reach out to your regional manager as needed. Do we have any specific questions that we can answer right now on the medical or Class A process? Okay, then I'm going to jump right into fundraising opportunities. Just like we do every year, as you guys know, our polar plunge season is coming up, which is a great opportunity for our teams and our local programs to not only raise funds and awareness more than anything for Special Olympics Colorado athletes, but we're one of only a handful of states in the nation that offer a kickback for our local programs. So if you have a local program budget through your region, you're welcome to sign up for the plunge, and we have what we call a local program kickback. So if the DPR Sharks sign up a 20-person team for the polar plunge and they raise between $500 and $999, 25% of that will get kicked back into their account. If you raise over $1,000, half of what you raise will get a kickback to that account. I'll be honest, we probably have like 12 to 15 teams that consistently do this every year, and most of those teams raise over $1,000, and half of that goes directly back into their account. Just as an example, the Boulder Expand team does this every year, and they raise a ton of money, and it covers the entire cost of their ski season, which is super expensive, right? So this is a great fundraising opportunity that benefits all parties. It's a really fun day, no matter what plunge you go to. I believe we have 7 in the state. There are 4 or 5 in Denver. There's 1 in the Southeast. There's 1 in the Northeast. But your regional managers or someone from our state office in the Denver region will reach out. If you have any questions on that, please contact your regional manager. It's just a great way to get involved and a great way to cover your costs at the beginning of the season. So with that, I know we mentioned this at the Coaches Summit, and this is something we really want to be on the same page about with coaches. There are a ton of grant opportunities out there for nonprofits and for teams and for everything that you guys do. If you guys are looking to write or acquire grant money on behalf of Special Olympics name for your team, please do not submit anything and let our grant person look over it first. I want to give you a very specific example. Is we've had teams before in the past that have done this and not told us, to where they would ask for about $500 to like cover uniforms for a season, where the grant maximum could have been $10,000. Someone in our state office can handle that, and you guys would still get your money if that was the case. There are some cases where you guys know it's a $500 grant. That's the maximum for the grant, and you guys want to apply for it. That's completely great. That just needs to be communicated to your regional manager so they can then send that up to our development team, just so we can track and record that. Because if there is potential to make more money to obviously help the organization and your team, we will be there for every part of it. And we would love to help you guys accomplish that financial goal, because we know how hard it is to fundraise for your program. So with that being said, this is probably the most expensive season of anything. Skiing and snowboarding and going to these mountains on weekends is not cheap. So please keep that in mind as you guys plan for 2020. We try to do everything we can to offer fundraising help to you guys with the plunges and just separate events throughout the year. So please communicate with your regional manager if you guys need help, what we can do to help on that end, and just to be fiscally responsible, especially when it comes to like state winter games with housing and transportation and things of that nature. So does anyone have any questions on the financial aspects of what I just talked about? Awesome. All right, I'm going to kick it back to Susan to take us home for specific state information for you guys.
All right, Jeff, would you mind heading to the competition page? So when you get involved, if you guys go to competitions, this is where you'll find all the latest and greatest information on winter games. As of right now, it only has a fact sheet. So Jeff, if you wouldn't mind pulling that up, that would be great. As we mentioned, our state games will be February 22nd and 23rd at Copper Mountain. In order to get your entries from regional to state, all we'll need to do is just a confirmation that you'll be coming. We understand that maybe not everyone that's at regionals can make it to state. So what I'll do is I'll send you out a list. Pretty much as soon as Eldora is over with, of everyone that competed. And then you'll probably have till that following Friday to let me know if you have anyone that plans on attending the event, or any changes we need to make at that point. Okay. As I mentioned, we are going to flip-flop the schedule around a little bit. We will be doing the slalom on Saturday and the Super G and Giant Slalom on Sunday. The thought behind that was hoping to get you guys out a little bit earlier, since there is just one run for the Super G, because I know everyone's anxious to hit the road on Sunday to try to beat that Sunday traffic. Cross country and snowshoe will be taking place on both days as well. Breakfast or lunch and dinner will be provided on Saturday, and then on Sunday breakfast and lunch will be provided. I will get a tentative schedule sent out and posted to you guys. Once we're just waiting for a couple more items to firm up through Copper, and then I will go ahead and get that sent out to you guys. Any questions on the state event itself? You guys all should have received information on housing. The next documents down here are just a few items as reminders on competition. And actually, Jeff, can you freeze right there? I know there was a question from some snowshoers on the size of snowshoes. That size there is 7x20. So Tim, if you're on, if that answers your question, let me know. If not, I'll follow up with that email. But just as a reminder, they need to be 7 inches by 20 inches for them to be legal snowshoes. Okay. We will be having young athletes again at Winter Games, which has been great the last couple of years. We've had them skiing and snowshoeing, and we've gotten a few athletes out of that, which we're very excited to start. A team this year that's about 8 to 15-year-olds. So if anyone has any interest in more information on that, please reach out to your regional manager and we can get you in touch with the coaches of that as well. Okay. We will be having opening ceremonies on Saturday night again. If anyone would like to be in charge of the weather this year, I'm happy to pass that off to someone for those of you that have been the past few years. But we're hoping that everything will be great this year. We'll do the opening ceremonies outside as we have done it in the past, and we will have the ski down. We'll be reaching out about athletes for that as well. As a reminder, make sure you, if you have not done so and received the code for housing, please make sure you call Copper to make that happen. The sooner you guys can do that, the better, okay? There will be healthy athletes taking place on Saturday, as well as Olympic Town through the area, through kind of that commons area as well. One final pretty neat thing that'll be taking place this year that'll be new is that the Special Olympics USA national team will be conducting their time trials throughout our event. So they'll be arriving at Copper a few days prior to us, and then they will actually be competing with us. So I think it's pretty awesome that some of our athletes are going to have a chance to compete against some athletes that will be going to Sweden in 2021. And we do have some athletes that are going to be a part of that as well, and we'll share more information with you guys on that once we finalize all that information and such. Do you guys have any questions on the state games that are coming up or any of the other regional events? Otherwise, I think I'm all set then. Again, I'll stay on the line. I will stay online to make sure if there's any training questions or busing questions that I can answer any of those as well. Jeff, I can turn it back over to you.
Yep, that's all we got, guys. You guys are pros at this. You guys do this every year, so we appreciate you. New coaches, we look forward to having you. We'll stay on for a few more minutes here. If you have any questions or concerns, we will send this recording out as well tomorrow to you guys, so you have a copy of it. But thank you for your time. If you don't have any questions, feel free to log off, and we will be in touch and have a happy holiday.
So questions are still going to be answered here?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So, hi, this is Arturo from the Mexican Special Olympics team.
How's it going, man?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
Okay, so I wanted to know a few things. The first thing is how long if I registered an athlete for last year's, does that carry on for this year as well as the medical forms and everything, or do I resubmit all the information again?
Susan, do you want to?
Yeah, you should not. You know what, Arturo? I think the best thing to do at this point, since I'm not sure which those athletes were, can you just shoot me an email with their names, and then I'll double. Oh, okay. Yeah, and if she competed last year and was good to go, then she should be good. But I just want to make sure that we've got her, so we're not scrambling in order to get that at the last minute. So if you want to just remind me of her name right now.
Yeah, Alexia Ampudia, my sister.
Okay. And can you spell the last name?
Ampudia.
Okay, great. I'll go ahead and double check that, and if there's any issues and I can't track it down, I will give you a holler and let you know if that works for you.
The other thing I wanted to find out was so if I don't know on what tier to put any of my athletes or what time, when's the last possible date to find this out before regionals or states? How would that go about?
That's a good question. I would say at this point, do your best to assess them. And remind me, are you guys going to be up at Ski Cooper for the regional event?
Yeah, we're gonna be at Ski Cooper. That's gonna be our first practice event. So
okay, so just so you're aware, as far as our beginner hill is really a bunny slope over there, and then our intermediate and advanced hill are both gonna run on it's a blue green for their race hill. It's not super difficult. So I would err on the side of putting most of your guys in intermediate or beginner if you have brand new people. And then after that, we can go ahead and you'll be able to tell from there if we need to move their levels for state.
Hey, Susan, it's Mindy. I'm sitting here next to Arturo.
Hi.
Hi. So most of our athletes, I mean, I know how they ski, most of them. I just don't have times on them. So, and we're going to have, I mean, I can time them, but not until the week before regionals. So, but I am familiar with Ski Cooper. My son raced there a million times. So I think we're good on that.
Okay. Yeah. And I think for regionals, our biggest thing is really making sure that we get them in the right levels to move on to state. If their time is a little bit off, we can adjust that when we're going through awards, and it won't be a huge deal at that point.
Great. So would you say that, for example, Alexia, last year we put her in beginner, but that was at where were we at? We were at Powderhorn?
Deeper something.
Sunlight.
Oh yeah,
Sunlight.
Sunlight.
Yeah.
She was in beginner and she navigated that successfully. But Ski Cooper's beginner hill is quite a bit easier. So
right.
Would you recommend, for example, putting Alexia in intermediate?
I would recommend that. I mean, the beginner hill is really, at both of our regional events, the beginner hill is really beginner. So I would recommend putting her in intermediate, see how she navigates that. And then Mindy, are you familiar with Copper and the hills that we use?
Yes.
Okay. And then at that point, you can kind of assess to see where she needs to be. If it's back down to the beginner or if it's in that intermediate, we can make those changes.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Hey, Susan, this is Sherry Jobe with Cherry Creek Nordic.
Sherry?
Asking about up at the state winter games, the young athletes that will be up there, the 18 to 15-year-olds. Will they be just alpine, or will they also be snowshoer and cross country?
Yep. At this point, we just have an alpine team that started with that younger age group.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm. Any other questions from any of you guys online?
Well, thank you very much, Susan, and we'll keep in touch regardless.
Yeah, definitely. You guys, most of you all have my email address or know how to get a hold of myself or regional managers. So please don't hesitate. We prefer more questions than not, just to make sure we're squared away when we need to be. So
Well, thank you very much for your time and for all your answered questions.
yeah, definitely.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
All right.